Close, Walter.
Hey, Walter, how are you?
What's up, David?
Do you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
All right, yeah, loud and clear, man. I love the hat.
Nice.
Where are you?
Well, I'm in Indiana actually, at Holiday World, which is like a theme park where they have all the holidays. And I got the hat in Florida 2 weeks ago at in Cape Canaveral area because it's been hot, sunny, it's been beaten down.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I hope you and your family are enjoying your time down there. And
Oh yeah.
thanks for joining in with us. And if you got to get back to the fam, by all means, we'll be happy to carry the torch. But I hope we can answer as many questions as possible and wrap up on time at the very least.
Awesome. Yeah, just let me know if my quality suffers because my internet connection is somewhat spotty.
Yeah, your video is coming in pretty spotty. I think if you're gonna probably explain anything, maybe jump off the video so that your comms. Yeah, that's probably the better way to communicate. It looks like Ellie's hanging out in the lobby, waiting for him to jump on. Do we have to do anything here?
Yeah, I'm gonna try switching.
Okay. Mr. Scheiman,
Hey.
Good afternoon, good evening.
How you doing?
Doing well, sir.
All right.
Walter is in Indiana wearing an awesome hat.
Yeah, I saw him.
And, we'll give folks just a few more minutes to jump on, and then I'll go ahead and introduce us. Maybe we'll go over the Q&A that was sent out today.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
I can't get the chat function here. There we go. Got it.
All right, so let's go ahead and I'll kick it off. Good evening, everyone. I'm joined by Eli Scheiman, our good friend and leader in the New Jersey cannabis space. He's an attorney with Porzio, Bromberg, and Newman. Yeah, Newman. Porzio, Bromberg, and Newman, out of New Jersey. I've Harvest 360. Has worked with Eli in the past, and we think he's probably one of the most competent attorneys in the industry. When he gets on sections, they score perfectly, and we have proof of that. And on the line is Walter Moore. He is the senior developer mastermind of the CHT application software. And together between Harvest 360 and technology, we've created an accelerator known as Cognitive Harmony Technologies with the support of our friends in the industry, Porzio, Bromberg Newman, Eli Scheiman, and as well as a number of other contributors that will be coming on board. It's official. The winners have been identified for the CHT scholarship. And those that have won have received notice, I believe, at this point. And there will be an email going out tomorrow to the rest of the folks. So look out for that with instructions of how to jump in on the program and get discounts. A lot to unpack on the accelerator. We have a signed MOU with Stockton University. So included in our package is a Stockton certificate of their cannabis studies program, and that just recently happened, and we got a bunch more announcements to make on the accelerator. But I think what's been on my mind, at least today, and because Ellie woke us up this morning with, hey guys, look what the CRC posted. They updated their website maybe about a week ago and have been slowly putting in new things. We got the frequently asked questions up now. I guess, Ellie, I know you've gone through these. I haven't gone through all of them. I guess we can go through them here and kind of unpack it. But before we jump in, what's something that stood out to you in terms of like the CRC position and the activity of just even doing this? What does it mean?
Yeah, I'm just happy that they released it, to be honest. It shows they're working. I assume a lot of these are based on questions that they're receiving. I mean, there's real no surprises in there. It's high level to a large extent, and answering basic questions about the statute. But there are some questions you can see people are asking, and they're slowly starting to dive into. When I looked twice today, I looked earlier, early afternoon when I saw it for the first time, and then again just about an hour ago, and they seem to have changed one of the answers, which was interesting. I wish I had screenshot the initial one on the conditional license.
Yeah.
Initially, and again, this is just my recollection, but it said something like, it made it seem like it would be really easy to get the conditional license and that you didn't need much. And then you'd actually be operating while you're going through the process, which is not at all clear from the statute. But then when you go back now, it just parrots whatever the statutory language is. You'll have 120 days to get work towards the requirements for full licensure. So that was interesting. The other kind of surprise in there was the position that they're taking on property. So one of the questions, and it's a common question, is will I need property? Will I need to lock up property to move forward? The statute is pretty clear that the answer is yes. I mean, it's not clear what you need to show necessarily,
if any.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what that means, but
man,
I don't see any loophole there in the statute.
I think that's gonna be dependent on the license type. I think the conditionals, they by creating giving the language abbreviated application, you kind of got yourself what do you call there, an out on everything that preceded that. So this is an area where I think they would be wise to not require real estate for conditional licenses. Somebody can secure it. You want to still try to secure it. You don't want to, spend a lot of money doing it. If you're going for a conditional, you want to try to secure it because, guess what? There are a bunch of other people trying to secure similar space and in very restricted zoning and commercial fronts that municipalities have identified. Hey, we want cannabis companies in these areas, and it's going to be very highly competitive when they start drawing those lines. And so continue. I'm sorry.
No. It's a great point. I don't know what they're going to ask for the conditional license. Like I've always just assumed it was to give you extra opportunity to raise capital. But like if you don't have to secure property, that means you can't be submitting a security plan, really. I don't know how you submit a security plan without property, right?
So I think that they would want a plan, for a security plan without property, like what we did with Illinois. You have to describe all of the standard operating procedures for responding to all sorts of conditions. It's going to be, the area that's really unique in these applications is going to be the blueprint overlay, the description of all of the equipment and where that's going to be. But the majority of the standard operating procedures are going to apply from one facility to the next. It's just going to scale differently depending on how big or small the location is, how many rooms, or different outdoor considerations. So I do believe that that we're probably looking at a move to to alleviate the property requirement for the conditional. I'd be willing to bet on that now that I see that language, if any.
Yeah, again, I wish I had screenshot that initial one, because that would bolster your interpretation right there. But then, then it becomes really interesting in terms of the micro business side, right? Because obviously you can apply as a conditional micro business applicant, right?
These look like and these look like a lot of questions that you and I have brought up. I know you've been sending a bunch of questions to the CRC, and I'm surprised that we haven't seen any answers earlier, but here we are. You want to go through it and just do a screen share and just kind of take the next 20 minutes, I think, and just kind of go through it pretty quickly?
Yeah, we can. Just before we do that, actually, I just wanted to give an update on municipal opt-in, opt-out, just because I was looking at the chart. Yeah. So in New Jersey, we have 565 municipalities, all of which have to either opt in or opt out before August 21, or if they do nothing, they're defaulting in. So at last count today, and these are approximates, there look to be about 425-ish municipalities that have taken some affirmative position one way or another. And about 90 of them have opted in some form or fashion, which seems, fairly high, actually, surprisingly high. About 60 of those, I think, are all in on all classes, but I could be wrong. And then about 30 of those seem to be, for some, not others. But 90 out of 565 would be, a decent number. I mean, that's still not a lot of real estate available in the state for everybody, but it was encouraging, I thought. And a lot of the ones that are opting out, like South Orange today, a little bit disappointing. At least propose an ordinance that they're going to be opting out in the short term with a commitment to investigate, whether or not or how to come back in. So they're going to come back in, but same thing, like Maplewood. Same thing. Like, these are places where you think they would be pro. Maplewood actually just earmarked in the MSO that's operating there. So basically just gave them a monopoly and said nobody else can do business here. But I do think a lot of them are going to opt back in. So I thought that was encouraging overall. The biggest one today was Edison. The biggest one to fall today was Edison. Edison is, highly, highly, highly political. A lot of interest groups there in every, shape, form, and fashion. Tough market for sure. And it was very unclear how they were going to go, but Edison is in 10 total licenses, 3 for retail, the other 7 to be divided up just among the rest of the establishments. So
nice. That's progress.
Yep.
Thanks for the update, Eli. The folks in West Orange are going to be happy to deliver to South Orange. Yes. East Orange is going to be very happy to deliver to South Orange. I think Roll Up Life might be from out of East Orange, the delivery company. They're gonna love that news because you can ban it, but you can't. You're just banning the business, right? You can't ban the plant, and folks are still gonna get online and they're gonna order it right to their house, and there's gonna be transactions that are gonna leave the community. It's unfortunate that people don't see it that way, but so be it. It's at the benefit of another, I guess. So let's go over the frequently asked questions.
Yep.
Do screen share.
So then, if you're a micro business applicant, non-conditional, you'd still have to show property. I mean, I think.
If you're a micro applicant,
non-conditional,
yeah, I think at that level, I think they're gonna have to compete a little bit more. And at the annual level, they're going to compete really hard, but I think if there's that'd be my bet, right? But we don't know for sure right now. It'll be more to come, right? But that's, the provision, if any, leaves a lot of room to interpret these type of things. We'll get it, as we get closer. They'll update this stuff. So the first area of this is about the commission. And folks, feel free to go there. We're just going to comment on things that we know about or that's relevant to today, but we'll kind of just move through this pretty quickly. The CRC, the rules. I guess this is a good question. The commission is working hard to develop the initial rules. To do this, the CRC has solicited critical input from government officials, stakeholders, and experts across the country and public through the commission's public meetings. The information obtained from these engagements help the commission craft rules that are sensible and grounded in fairness and safety. So a dodge on any date of the 21st, right? They're non-committal.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it says before that it says the CRC must establish the rules, regulations by August 21st. So it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah. They say it there, and then below a couple of times they kind of dodge it. So it's unclear. I mean, it does seem like they're trying to abide by August 21, but based on the totality of the FAQs, it's not clear.
Yeah. So let's just keep hoping that the August 21st date is going to be solid. They're committed to it. Medical cannabis, home grow. That's interesting what they say about that. Political.
Yeah.
No, basically.
Medical, I don't know how many people here are interested in medical, but the medical raises interesting questions too, right? Because the Jake Honig Act from 2019, the CRC was supposed to have issued regulations years ago on that. So it's questionable whether or not they're going to be issuing regs for the medical program concurrent with the adult use, particularly given the importance and everything they've stressed about taking care of the medical population before converting over. So I mean, I don't know the answer to that question, but it's an interesting one.
All right. Let's see, personal use, Crema. I guess we're here for the business, so we'll skip right over that. If you're interested in that, go to the website. I posted the link there. Operating a cannabis business. Go to the types of personal use, also known as adult use, cannabis licenses that I can apply for. We've gone over this extensively. I'm glad that they put it on the website now. It's very clear, concise. Can a license holder transfer a license to another town in the same geographical region? That's going to be based on the rules. Interesting. Can I operate legally with just an approval from my city or city council instead of obtaining a state license?
Oh.
So that's it's going to be interesting how the municipalities have any legal claim to do their own internal process before the state even decides.
That's a good question. And the answer, I think, is yes, right? As long as it's conditioned on state approval, which is the way they're doing it. So I've seen some municipal ordinances that, the applications haven't been released yet, but they could go before the state process goes. And then, you go through that process and then everything is conditioned upon state approval. And some seem to be after the fact, like you get your state approval, then you apply locally, but it's going to be all over the place.
Right. What type of applications? I just want to see. Of course, there isn't any. And the answer to that, you never know. You open it up and you're like, yeah, wait a second.
Yeah.
Are applicants required to be? Some are. Yeah. As we talked about that. For the micro business, 100% local ownership. And for all the other business types, for the normal annual business type, it's one person with significant, interest in New Jersey, significant resident, whatever they call that, and an individual or entity across one house, for the local requirements. Let's see what they say. Resources. So, are there resources for individuals to be able to get funding, resources and/or technical assistance before applying? The CRC is reviewing different ways to promote participation in medical and personal use cannabis industry by persons from social and economically disadvantaged communities, including prospective and existing minority businesses, women businesses, and disabled veteran businesses. Once details are established, the information will be posted on the CRC website. So commitment, but no resources. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much too exciting there.
Yeah, not much too exciting. Not much we don't know about. Haven't covered. Let's see this municipal update. Yeah. What they say about the local city requirements. Authorizes municipalities to enact ordinances or regulations governing the number of cannabis establishments within their borders. Each city is responsible for establishing its own rules for getting local approval to operate a cannabis business in the jurisdiction. Contact your city government for more information about what kinds of cannabis businesses are allowed and what information is required to operate such. So that's huge. That's a clarification we were just talking about. They're saying here that each city is responsible for governing those local numbers, and so if you have a ordinance in a town where it says five people are going to get this type of license, or it's unlimited for these type of licenses, they really do have some power to authorize those licenses by virtue of making the recommendation to the state.
Well, yeah, but I don't think there's anything really new there. I guess the clarification, if any, is that they're going to be giving the municipality wide discretion in establishing their own process, in light of like the Bayonne ordinances, which are seemingly oppressive and don't necessarily, facilitate with the statutory intent. But yeah, I mean, otherwise the municipalities can pretty much do whatever they want, and unless someone challenges it, right? So I think that part has been, you're right, it is a clarification in that sense in terms of the discretion. Another interesting part of that too, and it might be too technical, but the opt-out on August 21, there's a real question whether or not that deadline also pertains to the local regulation, right? So like by August 21, you need to opt in or opt out. But what if one of the municipalities subsequently wants to change the way they've regulated it, how many businesses, all that kind of stuff, like the ancillary details. It's unclear how that relates to August 21.
Any municipality that does not pass an ordinance to this effect will just have to wait 5 years.
If you opt in, you can opt out and then opt back in.
Oh, you can opt back in?
The going assumption is if you opt in and by not passing an ordinance or by passing an ordinance. So either you take no action and you default to the zoning provisions of the bill, or you take action and then you're in for 5 years. If you opt out, you can opt back in. Initially, the prior language in the bill said that if you opt out, then you're out for 5 years and you can't opt back in.
Right.
And then if you opt in, you can't opt out for 5 years. They changed that language. So now it only applies to the opt-ins. If you're in, either by default or intentionally, you're in for 5 years. Otherwise, you can opt out and then opt back in.
Okay. So this is a very, at least for me, an awesome clarification, because it's been a question that you and I have spoken about a number of times. Just at all about the municipalities making these moves. Like, who they talk to about that? Why are they doing that?
Yeah.
And now we know they're really creating the local. It's really a local game.
Yep.
And so that tells me even more that people need to start hiring Porzio Government Affairs, because you guys got the local game on lock.
Yeah.
But that's I digress. Government affairs is a tricky thing. I've had experience where I've gone to one person on a city council and received a tremendous amount of support. On the other end of that city council, there was somebody who had a different idea about the vision of that municipality, and potentially created an unsavory situation for businesses in that community that weren't aligned with that vision. And so sometimes the government affairs person, what they really know is who to avoid. Like, oh, don't go down that corridor.
Yep.
Turn left, over there. Just figuring out, who's who in the zoo. With government affairs, you can never be too sure about agendas and things like that. I'm always very skeptical when dealing with folks that are in government, and because there's so many considerations that these elected officials have to make, that it doesn't always equate to public corruption. Sometimes it's a real logistical consideration that the municipality has to accept and recognize that there isn't a way to accommodate certain businesses, and we've seen that. And sometimes when folks are having those discussion about whether or not they can accommodate this type of business, having somebody that's in government affairs that understands it will be looking out for those conversations and looking for ways to ensure that you can participate as a citizen and as a citizen business. And so some things that just fly by, fly right off of our radars. We don't even see it, like as simple as a municipal meeting on an emergency action rule that now all of a sudden it's on the third Tuesday of the month instead of the normal second of the month, second Tuesday of the month. We've seen calendars accommodate for these new conversations, and sometimes a public affairs person, a government affairs person, they know to look at those calendars and make sure you're on the schedule, and that you can be represented in these conversations locally. Now, don't get me wrong, every person has the right to advocate for themselves. And if you feel confident in your business model and you feel confident that your community is going to support you, by all means, make your move. Be smart about it. Be respectful. Obviously, there's forms for that. Anything that's like happening in an alley isn't appropriate, and so I think that the government affairs sometimes will also help you understand those lines, because it could get blurred. And especially if there's family involved. I got a cousin who's a senator. How many times I've heard that. And so if it's a local game, I think a local person has a really good chance at getting a license if they go through the appropriate measures and advocate for yourself. find out about that zoning. So this is good news.
Yeah, those are really good points. The really the part that concerns me about New Jersey, like that, the stuff that keeps me up at night and worries me, and for the clients is it's really the municipal part, right? Because like we all know what goes on a state level. We all know that process is very challenging. You can submit the best application in the world and you may not win. I mean, there's going to be a significant amount of competition. But with the way New Jersey's introduced this, with as clarified here, you really have two entirely distinct processes, both of which can ruin you. And a lot of the local licensing and the ordinances that I've seen are competitively scored. They're requiring municipal officials, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but from my perspective, these municipal officials do not understand cannabis. They don't understand what it means to operate these businesses. They have no prior experience. I mean, I'm not belittling them. They just don't know it.
They've all been to Vegas, though. I guarantee it.
Yes, but that doesn't mean they can score an app. And it's requiring them to score applications, these local committees, and some places it's the police department scoring these or with discretion, over these applications. So like in most states, you have one process or another. You have the state process, and the local process is perfunctory and it's pro forma, like you get it, or like in Massachusetts, for instance, like you got to get the host community agreement, which is the hard part. But once you get that, like the state process is automatic almost, you know what I mean? Like you only have to deal with one or the other. I'm not really aware of states where you have to deal with two separate processes, both of which are scored independently. It's just challenging.
I'd be surprised, to see if like these are even scored independently.
Yeah.
I mean, and what if, this allows the state to bow out of the scoring because the municipality took it and relieve themselves of the liability in that?
Yeah, lawsuits. There's gonna be lots of lawsuits. There's gonna be lots of lawsuits. Yeah,
lawsuits. So
good for lawyers.
Right. Well, now we can finally put that to rest. We're no longer speculating. The municipalities have the control. If they're putting out an application process, it looks like that's the God process for that applicant. I'm sure the municipality is going to align a lot of their application with the state requirement to an extent. It looks like in some cases they're actually being more diligent, kind of going through the secondary process after the application is submitted and the license is awarded. The state would normally come in and look for some of those records, and looks like the municipalities are getting in front of it. So I would say that those are some from the vetting standpoint, due diligence standpoint that the state has to go through. Looks like the municipalities getting ahead of it and probably really putting forth an earnest effort to get that applicant the license in their community.
Yep.
So let's answer some questions. I'm going to use this live start because I think this might cue it up, but here we go. How long the state will give dispensaries after being awarded a license to get started and sell? Will there be distributors that will have products on hand for a newly formed dispensary? Unfortunately, we don't know those answers yet. Sorry to be short. Would there be a separate license for consumption lounges? I don't see any yet in the law. What we saw was permission that would be, I think, granted by the municipality. Eli, thoughts?
Yeah, so it's a separate permit only applicable for those who have a retail license. Right, so only those people can get it. It's not a standalone, and it is dependent upon municipal approval. So you need a municipal ordinance allowing that. Most municipalities are not allowing that. Jersey City, for one, is just as an example. So it is a separate endorsement permit that you have to hold, but you don't have to apply for it separately. Just assuming the municipality approves it, you can just submit for that with your retail license. On the prior question, just to hit a point, I mean, I agree with you completely, David. We don't know the answer to it in terms of how long after being awarded a license you can get up and running. I do think you should expect that initially there's going to be difficulty in obtaining product because so under the statutory timeline right now, the existing alternative treatment centers, they can convert over as of August 21, assuming they get municipal approval to do so, and sign off from the CRC. So they're going to be, ramping up, and they're going to be the only show in town. Everybody else, the new licensees, have to wait until the latest February, I think 2022, for adult use sales to begin. So there might be some challenges initially in getting product. If you're a retail for instance, like I don't know how you get that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think the industry is going to be at the mercy of the larger current cultivators for quite some time. And so, if you're going for a distributor license, it's going to be, that's your market. It's going to be the large operators seeing what you can secure from their inventory and position for the dispensaries once they come online. Same for the wholesalers. All right, next question. Walter Moore mentioned the pre-registration ends August 1st, but a recent email indicates July 31st. Which one is it? Thank you for the question. August 1st is a weekend. It's a Saturday. And I think, it's a Sunday. And I think the consideration was that if somebody, I'll say August 1st is still the last day. You can always initiate an ACH on a Sunday. It won't get paid until the 2nd. If you've initiated, the payment on a Sunday, through whatever mechanism you can use, then we'll accept it. I will clarify that in the next emailer that goes out. Thank you for pointing that out. One moment, I have a squeaky dog that needs some W2 or something. I don't know. All right. As a social equity applicant, let me start right there. As a social equity applicant, which application should I apply for? So it's interesting because there is no definition of a social equity applicant. We'll start with that. There are preferred classes that may be given points or some credit for being a registered minority business or disabled veteran business. There are impact zones that have been designated as the state for special preference. So they're going to be more enthusiastic about supporting the municipalities within these impact zones and helping foster an economy. The conditional license creates sort of a social equity class by de facto. I think it's because, and I say that because there's a financial threshold that's a requirement, and so you're considered, for the conditional for a number of reasons that we should probably go through one more time. But one of them is going to be your income. And your income being less than 200,000 in the last 2 years if you're a person filed as a single person, 400,000 for combined household income. If you brought in $200,000 in the last year, in the last 2 years, $200,000, that's a good life. $100,000 a year. I don't know that they're specifically. Is there a minority requirement in the conditional? I have to pull that out.
No.
I'm gonna pull up the conditional. Just go over it. Let me stop sharing my screen because I might have some sensitive data on my database. And also that's a tip. If you saw what I was opening there, that's Monday.com. And we are masters of Monday.com at Harvest 360 CHT.
I can verify that. Yeah.
Project board keeps us running tight.
Yeah, you guys got a great system. Your application system is top notch.
I can't wait to have Walter demo when he's back in good quality internet service in the backwoods of Alabama or
We can give it a try anytime you're ready.
Okay. All right. So we'll give it a try. We're gonna go over the conditional license type really quick, and then we'll pass it over we'll finish the last couple questions, and we'll pass it over to Walter to kind of give us all an update, including myself and Ellie, because in one night Walter can create a whole universe online. So we gotta get updates from him frequently. Conditional license. Let's see. The license carries several advantages. I'm gonna post this in the chat bar. This is compliment of Eli Scheiman, who puts together our legal notes, our regulatory notes, and study guides. And so we have it accessible to service the community. Too many characters. And it says, oops, slow down Shakespeare. Too many characters. Wow. Okay. Let me do this in parts. There goes my dog again. So I got a 4-month-old puppy. And it sounded like a good idea at first.
It always does.
We're happy to have him. All right, so we'll just go from here. So the big part, I'm gonna write this here. Copy. Everyone. Why isn't it letting me write? Was I disabled? Yeah, I'm done answering that. So it's like something's going on here. You can't put in. Oh, there we go. I feel like an old person trying to figure out the internet. Happening there.
On the conditional, there really isn't much info at this point beyond what you covered. You got, you have the provision that you're talking about before, right? So anybody with a financial interest and decision-making authority, right? So it's got to be both. Cannot have earned 200 filing individually, 400 filing jointly, and then you need a significantly involved person in New Jersey for who's been there for 2 years. So beyond that, we don't really know much. But going back to what you said before, with the FAQs on the property, I mean, that's a huge advantage if you don't need to do it. So I mean, I completely agree with you. Conditional is the way to go if you can do it.
Yeah, quicker time frame, 30 days instead of 90. Restrictions against any person. Yeah, that's what you were talking about. What you were talking about, 200, 400,000. At least 35% of the total licenses issued for each class of licenses shall be earmarked for conditional. So, to answer your question, the conditional license would be a good way for what we would consider a social equity applicant. It is, in a way, creating some justice there. When will we announce the scholarship winners? The people that have been awarded licenses, I believe, have already been notified. Tomorrow, we'll send out a notification to everybody else, letting them know, and pointing them to the website. Of course, we're still trying to find more scholarship availabilities, but there's no guarantees in that. We're building a board of advisors that includes Stockton University. We're bringing on I can't say the name yet until it's signed, but we've been pretty good about this so far, and it looks like we have a major investment group joining the accelerator as an advisor, and they'll be providing strategies for fundraising and things like that, and for certain groups that qualify, they may be even able to get investment from this group. It's actually one of the largest in the world for cannabis investments. We're really excited about that, and should have more word by August 1st. So the advisory committee that we're putting together, we're trying to get a cohesive effort together for folks to apply for to seek scholarships and funding opportunities for everyone. But I don't want to guarantee that, because there's no money in hand. When we do get scholarship funds, we'll make it available to the public as soon as we know. I wouldn't wait on that per se. If you don't have to wait, I would start immediately on the accelerator program. If you have to wait for those opportunities, I'll continue to engage us. We'll keep you updated here every Tuesday, and hopefully answer as many questions as possible. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Walter. Walter, what are the new cool updates for Cognitive Harmony Technologies?
Sure. Yeah. So, we have, let me share my screen. You guys tell me if you can hear me well enough and see my screen here. Sure.
Hear you loud and clear. Ellie, I would ask that maybe you go off camera to free up some bandwidth for Walter.
All right.
We got the infinite universe there.
Yeah, it's now finite. Okay, so we are, working diligently right now to get things ready for that August 1st launch, and bringing, all the accelerator participants, getting them as much value and information up front as possible on day one. Not everything that you see here on my screen today is going to be available on day one. Some of it will be disabled while we continue to make that usable in terms of, all of the things that we've talked about tonight. We've talked a lot about how hyper-local the game is going to be in Jersey. So, that means the rules are going to be hyper-local. And what one applicant is ultimately going to be submitting is really got to be customized. So this is the platform that we built with this in mind. It's the idea that hyper customization and hyper local, applications are the norm. We've seen it in California, and it's happening everywhere. It seems like ultimately. We've got the study guides. We've got some work that is being finished up this week to get all these translated into Spanish and make them both available. All of the study guides available in both Spanish and English, and it should be quite nice and easy to toggle back and forth between them. So we want to reduce any language barriers that might be there on that side of things. And while we continue to really dig in deep on the meat and potatoes of this this application process. So, I think the study guides, the best way to look at them is that's your glue between the learning paths, which are links out to a separate experience that is all video content based, and we'll begin to demo some of those for you guys soon. The study guides will link those with our other content, presentations, live programming, and even the content that is on Stockton. But the study guides are going to be your guide, and there will be a lot of content here to go through on day one. We do continue to make progress on a lot of the other pieces. The templating system, we're moving kind of to the next level with templates. The current templating system is based, will generate Word documents essentially. So we have templates on the back end. Ultimately, the users will be able to customize these templates, but right now on launch, we're going to have a bunch of really great operating agreements and other important documents that you'll need to be able to template for the companies that you've entered into here. And I'll just quickly demo for you guys again. I know I showed this last week, but for anybody who wasn't here, one of the main goals here is to take the application process and break it down into some very separate groups of problems. One is you don't know what you don't know, so let's find out what you don't know and get you the information quickly through this education module up here at the top. And that will be the initial phase of the program. We'll be largely focused on education and help and support in order to make sure that that's there to make sure that we're gluing the education to the tools that we're providing. And then the tools are really what we're trying to ramp up to on phase 2, once the applications and rules, whether they're state level rules or hyper local rules, that we can get those available to you in the right place at the right time, and separate from your data. So you can see in here under jurisdictions, this is where the rule sets for each jurisdiction are organized. Right now, we've got mainly statutory stuff that is defined at the state level, but as we get hyperlocal in New Jersey, this menu will start to get hyperlocal as well. And you can see we are already working with the New Jersey law in here and starting to parse it out. Like for instance, the micro grow is the first one that we're fleshing out this week, and within the micro grow, we don't know what the exhibits are going to look like, because in Illinois, we had exhibits, what was it, A through T or something like that, many exhibits. So here we kind of have to model them at a more abstract level. So I can show you in Illinois what we've done, and that's exactly what we're doing right now in New Jersey, and that's going to be available for the drop date of the application. So you can see we've got dispensary, craft grow, infuser sections, and as we drill down into the different license types, you end up starting to really see the complexity of these plans. So a larger jurisdiction, a larger municipality is going to have a larger, more complicated process, presumably, and they're going to look something like this. But we can create customized templates like this for each exhibit, whether that exhibit is at a county level or at a village level or a bureau or a state. Doesn't matter. It's the same data structure. And we're trying to take care of all the heavy lifting on that stuff, but not prevent you from doing your own heavy lifting and taking advantage of maybe even your knowledge of the hyper local situation that you're in. And we really drill down into not just how many points and what you need in the exhibit, but what's the state going to look for? What checks do we need to do on the data? What documents do you need to provide? And really, what citations do you need? I don't believe that one is accurate. So that's just one aspect of data, and each of these data sources are kind of equally as rich as you start to look at the innards of a company. For instance, the companies themselves have a complex sort of structure to them that needs to be presented to one municipality or state in one context, slightly different than another. And we don't want to have to keep having to fill out the same information over and over again. So we record it in one place, like you see here, and we make all the documents and data available. The facilities, within the facilities, you've got the zones. You've got high security zones, low security zones, public zones, and then within the zones might have equipment in them, and that equipment all has standard operating procedures, right? So you can see how the company becomes like the entry point for all of this rich data. And then within the equipment, you might have standard operating procedures that have link back to manuals. You might have some that require step-by-step checklists in order to be compliant and to maintain compliance. So, and this system is designed to not only build you that application, but then what do we do with that information afterward? We take it and we run our businesses with it. One more minute here, and the other data types that you see here, procedures. I could do a whole hour on procedures. They're really, I think, the most important piece here. If you look at, I was looking at a large growing software package called Agrify, and Agrify's entire system is all based on their concept of a procedure, really, at the end of the day. And you program and automate your entire grow with their software by having these grow plans. And really, the grow plan, even for your one business, might be different from one location to the next based on the rules of that municipality. And so the way I see CHT is where all of that data comes together, that we want to be able to push our standard operating procedures into systems like Agrify or into point of sale systems in order to drive the correct experience for both the grower or the dispensary agent or the customer that they're supposed to have to the right system in the right place with minimal amount of work on your part as the user or owner of the system. Premium support. So we're working on scheduling for this week, and we'll have all these ready to go. Coaching sessions are another one. Scheduling coaching session time will be tracked in the system, and you can schedule your sessions with the professional coaches right in here, and we'll keep track of them. And if you hit your cap, you will be able to obtain more if you really need them, but we have to put some limit on them. Otherwise, we're just going to blow up everybody's calendars to the point where there's nothing left but coaching between now and end of the year. And while we'd love to be able to coach an infinite number of hours, we have limited professional resources on that front. So I think the play is when you come in for the first time on the top portion of this menu, I would think about when you're going to need coaching sessions And I think David and Ellie and others that you'll see on these weekly meetings, they'll be able to really help you determine, the best points and what documents to bring to each coaching session, and kind of, the first coaching session might even be, how to use the resources you have available to you in the most efficient way, because each situation is going to be a little bit different. Some people are coming into this with fully formed entities, LLCs, or S corps, C corps, whatever it is. They're coming into it with a structure in place, and there's some folks are coming in unstructured. So we'll work with you on how you use that coaching session time in order to best to give you the best chance possible. The templates, we're going to be introducing the CapEx and OpEx type template within the next couple weeks and doing our back-end testing on it. Like I said, the PDF and text style templates, which are image, basic Word type documents, all of those templates are good to go. It's just a matter of content onboarding at this point, which is happening between now and August 1st. And the OpEx and CapEx and other types of simulation type templates, those are going to be followed by a few weeks. But the first ones that we're working on are going well. So all is looking good. And all of the macros that you have available to you on the test templates. So here you can see this is I'm sorry I'm going over, David, but I might as well show people, the kind of templating concept. So this is a Word operating agreement, and so we'll just call it test operating agreement. And you'll select a company for different aspects of the agreement, and this is maybe where you might need some coaching. Is incorporation date comes from the company, but the effective date doesn't. And how do you properly fill out all these dimensions of the thing? We've had our lawyers go through these documents and say, yes, this is a great operating agreement to apply for the app with, but there are going to be some nuances that are specific to you. This one in particular is I think a member only, like the simplest form of an operating agreement. So when we generate that thing, even if you don't fill out everything correctly, you'll still get a template out of generated for you, because behind the scenes it's already a document, and so it'll just generate one that has some unreplaced macros in it. And so now we've created a nice little document that has all the details of the company and the right language about member versus company. And so really it only needs to be signed. I would say once you've had professional look at the document and make sure that your macro substitutions were sane, because what do they call it? Garbage in, garbage out, right? If you put garbage in the data for the company, then this document's not going to make enough sense to be a legal document. But as it is, if you take time, build the company correctly, use your coaching sessions, you'll come out with a solid operating agreement, and as well as all the other different types of templates that will be available to you. And those are kind of a sampling of those is listed on the landing page, on the pricing page. We've got the a la carte list at the bottom of that page. You can expect templates for all of that a la carte stuff. The a la carte features are really not going to be available unless we have spare cycles after delivering all our promises to the accelerator program. We're really focused on the accelerator and New Jersey and making it happen there and getting people the tools they need to be successful. The most important of those is this exhibit generation piece. So once templates are used to generate documents, and exhibits are typically a package of documents that are all assembled together around a specific plan or operating plan or objective. And so by the time you're generating an exhibit, you'll have entered the data into your system completely. You'll figure out what templates you need, and then you'll generate documents for those, and then take those documents and upload them as more data attached to people or companies, and then eventually you'll get to the exhibit portion, and you'll pick a data portfolio, and I'll go into more about what that means at a later date. The data portfolios are just how we organize the data portion and share it between people. So if you have a coach that you want to see your data for your company, you can share it temporarily with them through the data portfolio. The jurisdictions, we already covered those. This is all driven by the data we are looking at in the other page. And then you select a type of application, which here is called an exhibit group. And then once you've selected a template, I think Exhibit F is a business plan. And you create that. What it will do is pop you into this kind of TurboTax-like experience. So at least that's our shining star, our North Star here. Is that's what we want to provide as a step-by-step process for building this exhibit out of your data that you've worked so hard to curate to the point where it's buildable. And then each piece of this point of sale system, processing and dispensing system, denials of sale, how will you track that? You'll click work on this, and then this is your workflow that will tell you what pieces you need and allow you to select them from your data. And then when you get to step 8, the very end, we will generate the exhibit. Now, sometimes the exhibit is going to need to be, depending on the municipality or whatever, will need to be submitted in different ways. And so in some cases, the best we can do at this point is say, here's a zip file. All the files in it are what you need for your submission. In other cases, we can actually generate a PDF out of it and inline everything together into one document and try to maximize the ease of use of that document for submission purposes. But we're going to look at a lot of user feedback at that point in time and then go from there. And that's it, David. That's all I had to demo today.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Walter. And thanks, folks, for hanging with us for the rest of the time. Ellie, do you have any questions, comments?
No. I'm excited.
All right. Cool. Well, we may have a template, but you still need a lawyer because once the operating. What's that?
Hyder has one more question at the top.
Okay, I'll get to that, but I'll finish this point. The going back and forth, you get an operating agreement, and you send it over to your partner, who has to have a lawyer review it. That lawyer is gonna redline it, guaranteed, because they're gonna want to make the money. and sorry, Ellie.
It's true.
and you want Ellie on your side to fight for those terms, or somebody like Ellie from the Porzio firm. They're excellent to work with. But everybody, you still need a lawyer. Just because you can get a template and it'll make Ellie's life a lot easier. That's for sure. But there's also some customizing in any partnership agreement that's gonna be inherent in any process if you're being respectful to the team. Let's look at the question. My fear is I start the accelerator but don't acquire municipal approval. Any suggestions? Well, I understand it's a very valid it's a very valid fear. But in order to get municipal approval, you're going to need to submit an application to the municipality. And what Walter just finished describing was an evolution in our software. I know that Walter designed it so that it can be hyper localized. So as those new ordinances and rules come out, we just literally take the URL to it and we put it into the computer that Walter created, and it will generate an application process. So you're going to need this software to get an approval from municipality. You're going to need it to get the approval from the state. And if and I have to say, to everyone that's considering the accelerator, we recognize that there is a that there has to be a cost to this. We are not a charity, and there is a cost to doing business and keeping the lights on for all the people that work every day on this, and considering that we've gotten all of this value down to just $16,000 to include a Stockton certificate, Stockton University certificate, an accelerator certificate for courses that are just insane. I'm gonna bring you guys. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna give you a sneak peek at the courses. Hang on one sec. The value that you get from it is incredible, and I understand that there's always folks that want more, and at a certain point it can hurt a company to just give more, and so we've
also, hey, David, also, I would say just keep at it. I mean, we've been working in Illinois for 2 years, and they still nobody has licenses. More than 2 years at this point. And you have to be tenacious and persistent, because things take a long time in this business, and it's the dawn of a new era in cannabis, starting yesterday, right? I mean, we're at the cutting edge of what the new industry is going to look like, and so all the hard work that we put in now is going to be, it's going to pay dividends. And if at first you don't succeed, you got to keep trying. Just don't give up. The knowledge and tools and everything that you'll gain by going through the accelerator are, they don't become diluted or lose their value because you swing and miss. Just improve it and resubmit or whatever you got to do.
That's such a great point. And somebody asked me very recently about this question of what does it take to succeed, and my just general, and my answer was a lot of no's, a lot of falling forward and learning, and just grit, perseverance. So here are some of the videos that we're looking at. Cannabinoid 101, cannabis dosing, introduction to CBD, importance, just standard operating procedures, best practices, waste management. I'm just going through this really quickly. Environmental issues, securing real estate transactions, banking, human resources, insurance. The list goes on and on and on and on. And right now we're writing the descriptions for these videos. All the videos are done. So that's a sneak peek at all the videos. Lots of value that's going to be gained from the accelerator. Joint venture with Stockton University. We're very proud to announce that today. And we got ink to the dotted. We got ink to the paper on both sides, and everybody's really excited. So that included, is the application management software that Walter worked on and developed. For folks like you and I, just normal human beings. Not a big MSO with millions in the bank. you know, and at the lowest cost possible. And we think that, you know, there's also a community to be built here. There's going to be, you know, all sorts of people on also going for all the license types. And so think about, you know, what it'd be like to have access to a group of dispensaries if you're putting in an application for cultivation, vice versa. And that's what the accelerator experience will create. We're going to create a community. There's going to be exchange of real agreements, and you know, if you're going for a conditional license, you know, the training and support alone to help you through this process will be invaluable. Micro licenses, regular licenses. So I hope that you know, if you didn't get an email today, you know, it means that you did not win a scholarship. There were 5 awarded. We'll be announcing the winners at some other time. Right now, tomorrow we'll let everyone know who applied for the scholarship what the next steps are for the accelerator. We hope that you see all of that value in it. I recognize that some folks haven't really been out of the state and seen what it's like to try to compete for one of these licenses, what those costs would be. We guarantee from our experience, you know, this is a hell of a deal. I guess, you know, we're wrapping up now. So thanks, folks, for your time. We'll see you next Tuesday. Same time, same bat channel. Y'all have a great week. Take care, Ellie. Take care, Walter.
Bye.